I do remember when I was about 5, hearing this wonderful music coming from the living room. And I remember crying, not knowing why, but I remember laying there listening to the music and crying.
It's like the music's able to get in there and flip some switch or pull on some string
exactly.
that nothing else can do.
I wonder about that. I wonder.
A musician and a scientist, both driven by curiosity.
The power of music. What is it about this collection of sounds that moves us? It's a great mystery there waiting to be solved.
Music feels really good. The rhythms of our heart, the rhythm of our breath.
Through music, we experience things that you cannot experience outside of the world of sound.
There is something that I think all human beings relate to.
Now we're discovering the true power of music is greater than we knew. Music is in fact encoded into us, into our bodies, and into our brains. With groundbreaking research come new questions. Can music make us smarter?
Go. This one might work.
Can music heal? Does music belong to humans alone?
When I began on this path of research, I thought music was important. I've realized it's even vastly more important than I imagined.
We think we just hear music, but music actually stimulates our imagination.
This journey of exploration into music takes us into the musical body and brain, into the essence of our emotions, and to the story of our ancestors and song.
The biggest question right now in the field is why music? And not just the how did music evolve, but why?
You know those experiences that you have sometimes when you hear a piece of music for the first time and you're immediately brought to tears? Is there a certain part of my brain where this music goes directly?
Bobby McFerrin and neuroscientist Daniel Levitin, our guides through a story in which age-old art and cutting-edge discovery intersect.
I think what ultimately it points to is the relationship between humans and sound, and the part of the brain that music goes to directly. And that's related to your deep emotions.
The question that initially got me into the field was where goosebumps come from. What's going on in my brain that's allowing this kind of thing to happen? Why would it be that emotion is carried by whether one note is longer or shorter than another? What's the basis for that? Why does music move us the way that it does? One of the questions that comes up is how do you take something that's as imprecise as emotion and make it rigorous and subject it to scientific study?
Levitin is one of a growing number of scientists from around the world and from different fields putting music under the microscope.
When you talk about humans having a music instinct, which is really where we're going with this, where does that come from? People sometimes say, well, you're destroying the magic of music by studying it this way. But the more people I tell about it, the more intrigued they are by the interaction between the brain and music.
Our relationship with sound starts early. The fetus begins to hear between 17 and 19 weeks. Already we are in a world of sound, of breath and heartbeat, of rhythm and vibration.
All sound, all music in particular, comes from vibrations, pressure waves, those vibrations in air. To me, as a physicist, sound is the actual wave, the actual ripple of vibrating air. The difference between one sound and another, the difference between clapping hands and having a beautiful tone, is the nature of the vibration. It's the details of the vibration. So a musical note is a vibration that's very, very regular. It repeats in a very orderly pattern. So if you were looking at the air molecules, you'd see a nice cyclical progression. Compression, rarefaction, compression as it goes from me to you. But if you just slap your hands together, the vibration would have a kind of more chaotic feel to it. It wouldn't have a nice regular rhythm to it, and that's really the difference between one kind of sound and another. We live in an ocean of vibration. The experience of music is something deeply related to our physiology.
Music is energy. It's possible to feel vibration through the whole body, and for me, this is a very crucial part of what I do.
For Evelyn Glennie, the fact that music starts with the physical fact of vibration is the essence of her art. Since childhood, she's been profoundly deaf.
For me, as a participator of sound and a creator of sound, I hear how I hear, but I hear. And that's going to be different to how you hear.
She feels the sound, different rhythms, even different pitches through her feet, through different parts of her body.
When we hear Bobby McFerrin singing, we just hear those musical sounds.
You know, when someone says that piece of music touched me or moved me, it's very literal. The sound of my voice is entering your ear canal, and it's moving your eardrum. That's a very intimate act. I'm very literally touching you. And when you speak to me, you are literally touching me. And when we extend that principle to the sound of a violin, you know, it's not so much the sound of the violin, it's the silence thereafter. That's the moment when, in some ways, you hear what was just said.
Music plays the body like an instrument, and the brain makes music.
Goosebumps happen in the brain. I mean, it feels like they're happening on your skin, but it's the brain that's driving them. One of the last frontiers is the human brain. We know relatively little about it. We have neuroscientists trying to figure out how this thing works.
We'll never be able to go back in time and know the answer which came first, music or language or the precise origins of music. But I think one of the things that we can do is use ideas about evolution to motivate experiments and empirical studies that we can do with living animals. And one of the interesting ideas is if we're so specially wired up for music in the way that people think we are for language, then you should be able to identify things that we do that other animals cannot learn to do. One of the things that's been fascinating to me over the last few years is this issue of synchronization.
Humans can move in time, synchronize to a beat.
One of the things I've been interested in is trying to find evidence from other species whether or not they can learn to move with a musical beat or to produce a musical beat synchronously. And very recently, we've found that there is at least one other species that does seem to respond to music in this rhythmic way. It's actually a bird, a cockatoo, which is a bird that has complex vocal learning.
Studies of the brains of vocal learning birds showed that ability to learn song structures is linked to motor skills.
Over 3 million people have seen this video. It propelled this little bird to fame. This raised many questions. Well, the first question I think a lot of people wondered is it real? Well, it's real. I've been out there and visited the bird, and it does really dance to music, and it's not just imitating the movement of its owner. You can be still and not be giving it cues, and the bird will still dance. And then the next question is how flexible is it? Can he dance to other songs? And he does. Can he adjust his tempo to the same song if you make it faster or slower, so it's a version he's never heard before? And the answer is yes. Within a limited range, he can do that. This is real synchronization. This is real musical synchronization. And that this shows that this ability is not something that you need a human brain to do.
In other words, he's arguing that if other species have music-like abilities, then music probably is not a special adaptation in humans. Something unique to us. Something that we needed just for its own sake to survive.
If a bird can do something that we think of as genuinely musical, like moving to the beat of music, to me that suggests that that doesn't require natural selection for music.
So if music is somehow in the world, then is it in fact in us? Has it always been in us? Because we need it simply for itself.
I mean, I come to this from a kind of bias, which is that the human genome is crowded. We only have about 22 or 23,000 genes, and that's not a lot to do all that they have to do. I mean, there is a lot, the vast majority of our genes are doing kind of housekeeping functions. If something's in there, it's there for a reason. That's my bias. If music's been in there for as long as we think it has, it must be serving some evolutionary function. Otherwise, the genome would have kicked it out. So, why music is the question. What was the compelling force that drove us to music, do you think?
It's got to be group cohesion, and it's got to be building group cohesion as a way to align people's brain states. One of the interesting developments in the last few years is that we are moving from a study of an individual brain to the study of a society of brains, if you like. Yes. And music serves to synchronize our brain states.
I've had musical moments where I've locked myself into some motif. It literally feels like I've gotten to a place where I'm no longer singing and I can't stop.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not you, it's coming through
right.
you.
It's like it's coming through.
It's that loss of me as a separate entity from others. The barriers sort of drop and you feel this sort of unity.
And you get this sense of something larger than yourself happening.
And then you look around and you see there's this whole crowd of people that are locked into it. You're getting all these chemicals shooting through your brain that are changing your mood and your state. You've got this neural firing that's completely synchronized. Yeah. And you see everybody else is experiencing the same thing, and you begin to feel part of a larger whole.
Music connects us to ourselves and to others.
The thing that's wonderful for me is this, that you create these communities, a community of strangers. I've had experiences where at the end of a concert, and I've given the audience a certain part or something to sing, and the concert's over, yet they will continue to sing, and they will leave the hall singing because the music that took place might have come out of me, but it went into them and became all of us, and we took that out.
So why music? It's written into our very being. Science is showing that song lies at the core of life.